W.F. Howes presents an unabridged recording of The Artisan by M.K. Farrar, narrated by Emma Gregory. Chapter 1. The scrape of movement came from somewhere in the flat. Kerry Norris sat up in bed, her heart a heavy thud vibrating through her chest. She'd been in a deep sleep only moments before, but something had woken her, fast and sudden. Had it been a dream? Or a nightmare? Was that the reason she'd burst from sleep with her pulse thumping and her breathing short and shallow? She froze, straining to hear, but struggling over the rush of blood in her ears and the hammering of her heartbeat. Why was she so certain a noise had woken her? It was probably just her cat, Merlin. She glanced down to the spot at the foot of her bed where the cat normally curled up at night to discover it empty. It had taken an additional deposit to convince her landlord to let her have a cat. He hadn't wanted pets, and since she was on the first floor, she didn't have any access to outside space either. All she had was a tiny balcony that was barely big enough to fit one of those bistro-style table and chairs onto. But at least Merlin had a little bit of outside space. He could sunbathe in a patch of sunshine when the weather was warmer, though she'd had to put chicken wire across the railings to ensure he didn't decide to jump through. Kerry blinked in the darkness, the only light from the LED clock and the gap in the bedroom door. She lived alone and never slept with it fully closed. Merlin needed access to the litter tray, and there was no way she'd have it in here. If something had woken her, it was most likely only the cat deciding it was time for breakfast and knocking something off the kitchen sideboard in protest. Kerry tried to focus on the digital clock, with her eyes still blurry from sleep. The red light was a haze before the numbers took shape. 2:11.
"Oh, Merlin," she groaned. "It's nowhere near breakfast."
Damned cat. A scrape came from the direction of the single room that served as both her kitchen and living space. The London flat was tiny, and she paid an insane amount of rent each month, but it was worth it not to have to share with any flatmates. She knew the cat wasn't going to allow her to get back to sleep until she'd put some food in his bowl. At least after he'd eaten, there might be a chance he'd curl back up on the bed. Reluctantly, she threw off the soft covers, still warm from her body heat, and stood. She shivered, her shoulders shuddering. It was January and too cold to be creeping around her flat at 2 a.m. The central heating would come on, but not for another 5 hours yet. Her fleece pyjamas helped against the bite.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?